Round 3 of the Championship is almost over. As I start recording this, we are still awaiting the 12:30 kickoff, but I'll add that in right at the end. Make sure you check the description for timestamps for your teams. But this week, we're going to see how did Paul Heckingbottom get on at Preston North End. Were Derby County able to build some momentum off the back of their 1-0 victory versus Middlesbrough? How did Portsmouth get on facing Middlesbrough? Shall we take a look into everything that happened in game week 3 of the Championship season? Now, we start off with the first one from Friday night at 8 p.m. Leeds United took a 2-0 win from Sheffield Wednesday's backyard. Now, Sheffield Wednesday looked like clear promotion contenders after Plymouth Argyle, but right now they aren't looking so good at all, conceding 6 goals in their last 2 games. Now, Leeds United are certainly a team that are going to be up there. Didn't necessarily have the start they probably wanted, but really, really good performances along the way. Obviously, the Middlesbrough Cup game wasn't exactly ideal, but they've turned that around in this one. And I think when you look at the numbers of the game, you can see why. And I say time and time again, and I've said it time and time again, you can't sit on 20, 30, 40% possession and think that you have a divine right to win the game. And Leeds United are an incredible side, and going toe-to-toe with them probably isn't the greatest idea in the world. But sitting back and letting them dictate the play, letting them dictate and dominate, also isn't the way. Now, they didn't even create great chances. 1.19 XG from 13 shots, creating 3 big chances along the way. 0.43 XG for Sheffield Wednesday, 8 shots. And this Leeds side is a really, really good side. I'm not even going to bat an eyelid against that. It is a good side, and I do think that there's obviously a lot more to come from Leeds, and I do think they're going to be up there in this division. And I think what we saw today was, in this game, was Sheffield Wednesday still figuring out who they are. I don't think they have put in a performance to the level of Plymouth that we expected after that. Obviously, their game against Sunderland, they got battered, and they've been dominated in this game as well. I think, obviously, you look at the Leeds side, they've lost some massive players, but they still have Dan James, they still have Nonto, they still have Ampadu, they've bought in Rodon, Bogle. Like, they've still got some really, really good players. Now, I know a lot of Leeds fans aren't particularly keen on Meslier. They think he's a little bit average, but I think he's still a top goalkeeper in this division. Now, you look at the Sheffield Wednesday side, and they just didn't perform. I do think they have some good players. I really like Jamal Lowe. I think Barry Banning's good at this level. Obviously, they've brought in Ingleson and things like that. Valerie at right back, fairly decent player. Obviously, Max Lowe as well, decent players at this level, but just not quite good enough. Now, you look at the players coming off the bench. You've got Joel Peru, Rothwell, Byram, Geldhart. Really, really good players for Leeds United, whereas Sheffield Wednesday don't really have that same quality coming off the bench. And you look at this bench, and we'll get onto it a little bit later when we get into the Derby game. You look at the bench for Derby County, and Jesus Christ, we're going to struggle this season. And I think you obviously look at this game in particular. You look at 13 shots, 5 on target, 3 big chances, 1 missed. Dominated the ball, dominated every aspect of this game, and it's one of those for me where I just think you can't sit on your laurels. You can't sit on 30% possession. You can't not come out against these teams. You have to try. And I think if you split it between first half and second half, there is no difference. No difference between possession. And that is the problem that Sheffield United faced in this game. They couldn't get on the ball. They couldn't keep hold of the ball. And Leeds United were just much better on the ball. Now, obviously, you can let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Leeds fans, Sheffield Wednesday fans, let me know down below. Bristol City and Coventry City, 2 teams who I think are going to be in that playoff battle towards the back end of the season. And this one ends 1-1. Tanner scored a screamer just before half-time. Palmer picked up his goal in the 76th minute. And I think this game, I watched a bit of it before Derby's game. I didn't watch all of it, I won't lie. And it looked a very, very even game. I think Bristol City were getting themselves in more shooting opportunities, but I thought Coventry City were defending well and limiting Bristol to those sort of less rated opportunities, and I think that shows in the expected goals of 0.66 from 12 shots and 0.64 for Coventry. I think both sides really probably would have expected a little bit more from their performance today, and I think Bristol City especially early on in the game, seemed to have a little bit of the edge. And you look at the performance today, I think that rating on Max Bird is a little bit harsh. Seems to be getting involved quite a lot in the game. Maybe that's what's punished him here. I do really like that midfield three that they've got going on. I think there's a real possibility for them to sort of develop and keep going. Obviously, I think I'd probably prefer Twine in the number 10 role with Bird a little bit deeper and maybe someone else on the left-hand side, but we'll just have to see how that progresses. Obviously, Tanner picking up that screamer. You look at this Coventry City side, and I don't think Sakamoto really got into the game. I think Sims as well, the same, just couldn't really get anything going, and I think that's sort of credit to what Liam Manning is doing with this Bristol City side. And obviously you look at the players coming off the bench: Mason Clark, Thomas Asante, De Silva, Palmer. Look at Kai Naismith, Maheti, Malulu. You look at George Earthy, Naki Wells. Some really good players coming off the benches for both these two sides. I think it's just one of those games where it didn't really matter what Coventry or Bristol did. They both just seemed to have the answer for each other. Obviously, Bristol City had better opportunities within the penalty area, but Coventry City, it's just one of those for me where they were both sort of in a similar style, in a similar play, and I think really they just cancelled each other out. Hull City 0, Millwall 0 at the MKM Stadium. Millwall will probably be disappointed with this one, and despite creating 0.80 XG, they only had 32% possession. They take away a point, and a lot of people are going to be talking to me about, possession doesn't equal wins, possession doesn't equal results, blah blah blah. But I always think that if you've got the ball, you can't concede. If they've got the ball, you can concede, and that's the way I look at it. Now, obviously, if you're on the ball and you make a mistake, but you've got to give away the ball. They've got to possess the ball to score, in most cases, obviously. So for me, I'm never a big fan of sitting in and being rugged and things like that. I think what you've got to do is you've got to make things happen. You've got to get on the ball. You've got to give your technical players the ability to create chances. And I think when we look at the two lineups for these two sides, I think it just shows that. Now, you look at what Millwall have in the middle of the park, and I'm not going to say they're not technical players, but there's not a great deal of technicality in there, and I think you've then got to get the ball to the likes of SA, the likes of Watmore, so that they can make things happen. Even Honeyman, I think he's got a decent ball ability. You look at this Hull City side, and I think I put them up near the playoffs in my predictions. I'm starting to maybe regret that decision. Obviously, Liam Miller, a new signing, finding his feet, putting a fairly decent performance, and obviously both teams take away a point from this game, and they'll probably be happy with the point. But you look at Hull City's domination of possession, and you look at the 14 shots, only 4 on target. Millwall had more shots on target, but it's that disappointing chance creation, which I think Middlesbrough suffered with last week against Derby, when they played a similar sort of style of just sitting in after scoring. And I don't think you can win many games like that. I think, don't get me wrong, you can win games doing that, but I don't think it can be a survival mentality. I think you've got to really sort of push each other into making things happen. A mistake ain't going to happen because you sit off. A mistake happens because you apply pressure. You put them in awkward positions, and I think sometimes when you sit off with 30% possession, you don't have them opportunities. So obviously, let me know your thoughts down in the comments, Millwall and Hull City fans. Now, the main game on Sky was Queen's Park Rangers versus Plymouth Argyle, and I think it's a good performance for Wayne Rooney. 2 red cards in the game. I think it was Forshaw and Isaka, I want to say. Picking up the red cards, one quite late on, one after about 6. Well, I don't actually know. How long in was it? How long in was that red card? Yeah, straight after the Whittaker goal, 29 minutes, and then Freddie Asaka after 90. Now, Whittaker's goal was an absolute screamer. I think Karamako Dembele's picked up another assist in this game as well. It sort of like beats me up every time I see him perform well, because he's a player who was on Derby County's radar, and a deal looked quite close until QPR popped in with money bags, let's say. And if we do look at the lineups of two sides, we're not even going to look at the basic statistics, because I think we know how this game went, because QPR, in my opinion, were the better side for the most part. Dembele playing for QPR, putting in a really, really good performance. I think he's created 12 chances already this season. You look at the QPR side, I think we've got some really good players. I really like Clark Salter, obviously Dembele, who I've mentioned a lot. I think they're only going to get better this season. I think Cifuentes has got a really good squad of players to work with, and I think he seems to be a really good manager as well. I think it really helps his case. You also look at this Plymouth side, and I still think they're missing tons of quality. I think Whittaker finally getting off the mark with a screamer, which was more of like a 50-50 challenge where he's just gone and whacked it. But really good goal. Took their chances. You look at who's coming off the bench. Obviously, they've brought in Obafemi from Burnley, I think he's come from, which is, in my opinion, a really good signing. We'll see how he gets on. And you look at the other players available to both sides. I do think QPR has the better squad. I think they were the better team for the most part of this game. I think the numbers probably show that. As you can see, 0.14 XG from Plymouth Argyle. I'm not quite sure what Rooney is trying to do at Plymouth, but we'll have to see how that develops. 45% possession, to 55. QPR had 30 shots, 10 on target. Can we just have a look at how many of those were in the box? Where is it? 26 of 30 shots in the box. Now, the fact that Plymouth Argyle come away with a point after going down to 10 men and then 9 men is like amazing. I think obviously in the first half, Plymouth Argyle were the better possessive side, but then when you go into that second half, it was all QPR, and I think that red card to Adam Forshaw really sort of stumbled what Rooney was trying to do today. And I think Plymouth will obviously take that point, but disappointed that they couldn't keep 11 men on the pitch. Blackburn Rovers 2, Oxford United 1. Ranking Castello scoring in the 43rd after Harris scored a screamer. It's been a weekend of screamers for Oxford United. Sigurdsson in that 83rd minute securing the victory for Blackburn Rovers. Now, if we look at this one, this is more what I'm talking about when I'm saying you've got to take it to the opposition. Now, obviously, Oxford lost this game, and that's obviously a disappointment, but they at least gave Blackburn something to think about. 12 shots, one big chance, created more expected goals, and they had less shots, and that just shows that they were creating high quality chances in comparison to the opposition. Now, obviously, you look at the two sides, and obviously El Mazouni stepping into that middle of the park. And I think Oxford United are building quite a good technical side, but obviously they're going to have to work their way into getting the respect they deserve. And Blackburn Rovers put up a really good performance. I really like Costello. I like Dolan. I think they're really, really good performers. Obviously, they've lost a big player in Sammy Schmodics in the past week, so it's going to be interesting to see how that obviously develops over the course of the weekend. You obviously look at Vyman, Guy, Sigurdsson coming off the bench, providing something. Louis Sibley got on the pitch today as well for Oxford United, and I just think that when you look at the numbers in this game and the shot chart, don't get me wrong, Blackburn had the better opportunities in a sense of shot position, but Oxford United created the better opportunities overall. They even were able to hold on to the ball for longer with that 53% possession, and I think that's something that we need to see more from other teams in this division. Oxford were the better side through the XG phases when it comes to set plays and open play, and the disappointment here is that Blackburn Rovers just weren't. Blackburn Rovers were really good and took their chances, and Oxford United just couldn't really get that final chance. Now, it's disappointing for Oxford, it's disappointing for Des Buckingham to come away with nothing, but at least they're challenging in every game, and they actually seem to be trying. Now, it's the same result as Derby versus Watford, and when we get into that game, I'll explain to you why I have such a problem with sitting in. Middlesbrough versus Pompey ends with another set of dropped points for Middlesbrough. Pompey went 1-0 up with Sadie just 2 minutes in. Clark hit back in the 11th minute. Sadie then scored again to make it 2-1 in the 25th. And then a late Conway penalty secured the deal for a point for both sides. Now, I think this is going to be pretty similar to Middlesbrough's game last week versus Derby County. I think Pompey certainly took the framework from what Paul Warne tried to do, sort of getting that early goal, getting into the lead and sort of sitting in and holding on to the pressure, because Middlesbrough's chance creation wasn't really great in that game. Now, they've obviously done better in this one, scoring twice. Now, to win a penalty, you have to be in a good position in the first place. Matt Clark, a defender, scoring. I'm going to assume that's from a set piece. I haven't seen the highlights back, I will not lie. But it's one of those for me where 70% possession to 30%, these sort of results don't come around often. Now, you look last week, Middlesbrough lost a game in the same fashion. This week, not quite. They picked up a point, which is excellent. Scored twice as well. 2.90 XG to 1.05. 30 shots to 7. Now, I personally think Pompey probably took the framework from Derby County for this one. Sort of sat in deep, controlled sort of what they could control in terms of out of possession. I think Sadie did excellent to pick up his 2 goals. Obviously, Lang picking up an assist as well. You obviously look at this Middlesbrough side. You look at Azaz picking up an assist. You look at Clark picking up a goal, and then Conway coming on to pick up that equaliser. You obviously go and look at the statistics a little bit deeper, and you look at where the shots are coming from, and Pompey's come mainly from sort of the box area. Obviously, only 2 coming from outside, and Middlesbrough having 30 shots. But how many of those were outside the box? You look here, and it's 11 to 19, which is a really good ratio in my opinion, because you've got 19 shots inside the box, 7 on target in total, and 10 off target. I think it's fairly decent, and it's just one which Middlesbrough have to live with as the season progresses. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL Championship and League One previews and reviews which are heading your way over the course of this season. The Championship preview will be out towards maybe Wednesday, Thursday time, and the League One around the similar time. So make sure you've hit that subscribe button and got that notification bell on to hear when that video drops. Now we go into the final 6 games of the weekend, as Norwich and Sheffield United went head to head in what I think is going to be a playoff battle come the end of the season. I think Norwich and Sheffield United are certainly going to be in those positions. I think Norwich City have a really good squad, and the goal from Josh Sargent and Ollie Arblaster for Sheffield United are 2 really good goals and scorers for the sides. Now you look at the performance, you look at the basic data here, and it's 55% possession to 45%, 0.95 to 0.8 XG, 7 shots to 12. Now, obviously Norwich had more of the ball, and that's a common theme for teams playing against Sheffield United. It's that Sheffield United do like to give up possession, and but they're changing the way they sort of play. And I think Arblaster, really, really good performance. I think last season Derby wanted him on loan, and I think it would have been a really good signing for Derby County. I think you look at Kiefer Moore. I think you look at O'Hare. I think really, really good players. Obviously Gustavo Hamer as well. I think some really, really good players in both of these sides. Obviously you look at Sargent, McLean, Nunes, Duffy. Some really, really good players at this level. So if we take a look into the numbers of this game, then obviously it's not looking great for either side, but coming away with a point, they'll both be delighted. 12 shots for Sheffield United, 7 shots for Norwich, 5 on target for Norwich, which is a really, really good return. But obviously they'll have wanted more than 1 goal from that. They'll have wanted to win the game, obviously with being at home as well. You look at Sheffield United, 4 shots on target from their 12, but seem to have more shots in better positions. When you look at like shots in the box and things like that, it's 6 to 4 and 6 to 3 inside and outside the box. XG wise, Sheffield United dominate in the sense of set plays, but aren't as good in open play, which is sort of to be expected when you look at some of the people on the Sheffield United team sheet. Obviously, Chris Wilder will be hoping to pick up a few more results over the course of the next few weeks. Obviously, we are only on round 3, 43 games to go in this season. Will be very, very interesting to see how it turns out for both of these sides come the end of May. Preston North End get their new management reign off to a brilliant start, with Keane scoring in the 39th minute to win 1-0 versus relegated Luton Town. Very, very interesting performance, and I think Luton Town are going to start to worry. I don't think they've won a game yet this season, apart from in the Cup, which obviously isn't entirely great. Now, if we do take a look at the basic numbers behind this one, Luton Town dominant on the ball, creating the better chances, even having many more shots, 11 more shots in total, and creating the better chances over the course of the game. 0.26 XG for Preston North End, and coming away with a win is amazing to see. And you look at the performances, and you look at Jakobsen up front picking up an assist, Keane picking up a goal, Woodman picking up man of the match in between the sticks. The back three looking impressive for Preston North End, and you cannot say the same for this Luton Town side, which I thought were very unlucky not to stay in the Premier League last year. But obviously losing Ross Barkley and players like that, it's had a massive impact on what they've got. And I know they're missing some big players through injury at the moment, but obviously there's nothing you can do about that. Joe Taylor, Corley Woodrow both getting on the pitch, Liam Walsh as well, Rule Walters. They've got a long way to go, Luton Town, and I think Rob Edwards will find his way, but Paul Heckingbottom got the better of him today. Now, if you do take a look at the numbers, you look at the shooting opportunities, 6 shots, 2 on target for Preston, 17 shots, just 4 on target for Luton Town. And that XG is where the big problem comes in, because how are you creating 1.64 XG and not being able to put the ball in the back of the net? And that's what Luton Town fans will be asking themselves, because it really isn't good enough. And it probably shows why they ended up getting relegated last season, because 13 shots inside the box, yes, they had 6 block shots, but 13 inside the box, and an XG of 0.85 from open play, 0.78 from set plays, but unable to put the ball in the back of the net once. Rob Edwards will be hoping that he can turn this around at Luton Town. Stoke City hosted West Bromwich Albion, who came away with a 2-1 win from the Bet365 Stadium. Grant and Maja picking up the 2 goals in the 18th and 31st minute, with Kumas scoring for Stoke. It's a very, very interesting one, this one. I felt like both teams had the capabilities of winning this game. It was a fairly even contest, both teams creating some really, really good chances. 1.79 XG to 1.53, 7 shots to 8, 3 big chances each. And I think it's a very, very interesting one, this one, because I think both of these teams will be in fairly decent positions come the end of the season. You look at what Carlos Corbrand's done with West Brom and what Schumacher looks to be doing with this Stoke side, and I think they can end up in a really, really good position. Now, obviously, you look at the likes of Fallow, Swift, Grant, Maja, some really, really good attackers in this division, but then you can't sort of take away from the likes of Ajay and Moa and Furlong, who put in really, really good defensive displays. And you also look at this Stoke City side, and I think they're still looking for a little bit more to be able to sort of really push on, but I think they're soon going to find it. They just need to find a way to sort of take their chances, and I think that's something that they've missed for a long time, is a proper goal scorer. Is Kumas going to be that man? Who knows? Obviously, they've got Niall Ennis sitting there on the bench, Dean Garner coming on for West Brom with Lewis Dobbin and things like that, and obviously you've got Jed Wallace coming on as well. And I think Lewis Dobbin not getting into the team, I think, speaks volumes about his loan move, and maybe was it the wrong one. Now, looking a little bit deeper, both teams having good opportunities in good positions and being able to control the ball equally throughout the game is something which I'm a big fan of. 2 teams going toe to toe, and it doesn't necessarily have to be toe-to-toe in this situation, but being able to get on the ball and make things happen is something which every team needs. What's the point of having technical players that can use the ball if you aren't going to touch it and you're just going to spend the day running off the ball? And you look at where the shots were: 7 inside the box for West Brom, 4 inside the box for Stoke City, and it's a fairly decent performance for Stoke City and West Brom. Really good result for West Brom. Stoke City will be hoping that in future games they can put up similar performances and take away the points. Now, the big game at the top end of the table, I'm led to believe, I don't actually know, I've not looked at the table yet this season, but Sunderland come away with a 1-0 win. Mundell picking up the goal after 26 minutes. Now, Sunderland also pick up a red card, which obviously isn't great for them, but Burnley, free scoring up until this point. I thought it was going to be a high scoring game, this one, but a really, really good performance by Sunderland. Burnley not quite able to sort of make the most of their opportunities, and realistically they didn't have many opportunities, just 4 shots throughout the game, 0.13 xg off 60% possession, compared to that of Sunderland, 41%, 0.73, 14 total shots. Now, if we look at the lineups, the Burnley side is much better, but they keep losing players, and there could be a few more to go before the season, before the transfer window ends, and that's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, Sunderland and Burnley are sort of quite similar. Sunderland have just lost Jack Clark. He's gone to Ipswich in a really good deal for Sunderland, in complete honesty, but Patrick Roberts and Mundell stepped up today. Bellingham had a decent performance as well in the middle of the park. It was Neil who picked up that red card. But it's one of those for me where Sunderland came away with all 3 points, and it's one of those where Burnley will be disappointed that they only created 4 shooting opportunities, and awful shooting opportunities at that, bar 2, in my opinion. So you can obviously let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. And my team, Derby County, who got off to an excellent start on the road at Vicarage Road. 2 minutes in, Ibu Adams scored a really, really nice volley. People are claiming it's a set-piece goal, but for me, there's a whole phase of play before Adams gets to the ball, when, yes, the cross ends up coming from a throw-in, but there's been 3 or 4 passes before the cross comes in. So for me, it's not a set-piece goal. It's a really good finish from Ibu Adams on the edge of the box, but Watford dug in, found their way, dominated possession across the game, and it's something which I'm not an advocate for sitting in. Bayo and Sissoko picking up some good goals. Obviously Sissoko's was a bit lucky off the rebound, but Bayo's was a really, really good finish after Sonny Bradley let him run off him, and a really good ball. I think it was from Pollock, the Watford defender, putting a really, really good ball. Obviously you look at the numbers of the game: 65% possession to 35, 1.13 xg to 0.74, 12 shots to 8, 4 big chances to 2. Now, I don't think Derby County were out of this game at any point, and I think it was just a really unlucky performance. Now, that 4-2-3-1 is very wrong. Jackson played on the right, Yates through the middle, and then a midfield 3 of Adams, Ozzo and Kenzo. It's one of those, though, for me, where I think when you give a team with the quality that Watford have possession, 9 times out of 10 you're going to concede. And yes, we got lucky last week versus versus Middlesbrough, but this week just wasn't the same. And then I mentioned earlier about the benches, and you look at the likes of Ken Sema, Quadio Bar, Porteous coming off the bench, and look what Derby County have: Dejon Brown, Connor Washington, James Collins, Barkhays and Forsyth, Joe Ward. It's just not the same level, and Derby County obviously lost one of their coaching staff in the game as well, got sent off for something he said. Now, whatever happens with that, I don't know. I know Paul Warren said something about he's not allowed in the training ground for 2 days and misses a game, but I'm not quite sure how it works. You'll have to let me know down in the comments. Now, Derby County did miss some big chances in the game. Sonny Bradley had a good chance. Ibu Adams had a good chance as well to make it 2. Well, he'd have made it 2-1. Sonny Bradley would have made it 2-2. So it's one of those for me where I just don't think Derby County ever really went for it, but when we did, we created decent opportunities, and I'm very disappointed in the result because I think there was a point or 3 there for the taking. So it's one of those for me where you live and you learn. Paul Warren may learn from this, he may not. Obviously from set plays, Derby County were dominant, 0.48 as anticipated. 7 of our 8 shots came from inside the box, and it's just one of those for me where I think Derby County just need to come out and actually try and play a little bit more. With players like Kenzo, Jackson, Mendes, Lang, we've got to be getting on the ball to make things happen, and I just don't think we've done enough of that so far. To finish off this weekend, Swansea City and Cardiff City went head-to-head in the Wales derby, and it ended up as a 1-1 draw, with Swansea City taking the lead after just 10 minutes. Robinson equalising with just 10 minutes left to play in what was a bit of a topsy-turvy game in the terms of Swansea City. Were by far the better side and dominated for large majorities of the game, but weren't really able to create any massive like clear-cut shooting opportunities. Obviously only 1.4 XG off 9 shots, with Cardiff City 7 shots with 0.68 XG, 61% possession to 39%. Now if we do just take a quick look at the lineups, I think both sides have some really good players. You look at the likes of Aaron Ramsey and Robertson in that Cardiff City midfield, as well as you look at Chambers as part of the back four, Willock as well. Some very good players there for Cardiff City. You look at the Swansea team, you look at the likes of Grimes, Darlin and Cullen within that squad, and even Cabango. Some really good players for me. Now Luke Williams is doing a fairly decent job with Swansea City this season. Earl Bullitt is doing an okay job with Cardiff. It's going to be interesting to see how these two progress over the course of this season. Now if we just go and take a little bit of a more detailed look at the statistics and the shot maps and things like that, Cardiff City had opportunities in better positions in my opinion. Maybe not as many clear-cut openings, but obviously Cardiff City took their chance. Swansea also took their main chance of the game, but they did also go on to miss another one. 9 shots, 4 on target for Swansea, 7 shots, 3 on target for Cardiff. Now if we just take a little bit of a deeper look into the XG categories, it's quite clear to see here that Swansea City were by far the better side in open play, whereas Cardiff City created the majority of their big chances within this game through set pieces. Now 5 shots inside the box each, 4 shots outside the box to 2 in Swansea's favour. Now a really good performance from Swansea, and a fairly decent one of that for Cardiff City as well. Now I do think Swansea City probably will believe they should have taken more from this game, most notably 3 points, but I think taking a point in a derby game is a very interesting one, and one which I'm sure they won't be complaining about. Now obviously let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Do you think this game went as expected? Swansea fans, Cardiff City fans, do you think you should have been a bit more involved in the game? I feel like we've spoken a lot this weekend about possession, and obviously Cardiff City, another team limited to less than 40% possession this weekend in this round of fixtures. So let me know your thoughts down below. Now obviously that is game week 3 of the Championship season all said and done. The chaos continues in this league, and there's a long way to go for every single team in this division. 43 matches left to play, an abundance of points still to play for. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. Make sure you hit the like button as well. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll catch you in my next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.